Welcome to Rising Woman Leaders. I'm your host, Meredith Ram, and I believe the time has come for women to share their gifts, their voice, and their stories. I love seeing women spiritually and financially empowered, thriving in their life's work, and doing what they love every day. I've gathered a community of women living their dreams to tell us their stories and inspire us to step into more courage, self-love, and feminine leadership. If you like this podcast, use the hashtag RisingWomanLeaders. Follow me on Instagram at Meredith Ram and sign up for email updates at risingwomanleaders.com to get all the new and inspiring content. Now get cozy with a journal and a cup of tea. I hope you enjoy today's show. Many of you know Rising Woman Leaders is supported by individual listeners on our Patreon page. But every so often we align with a company doing amazing work in the world, and we partner with them to help each other spread our reach and our impact. So before we dive into today's episode, I want to tell you about one of these amazing companies, Abacus Wealth Partners. Abacus helps you make the best use of your financial resources, freeing your time to enjoy what matters most in life. The financial advisors show you where you are, protect you from financial dangers, create a roadmap for your future, manage your investments, and provide advice that touches every area of your life. They help with financial planning, investment management, and education through their events, online resources, and individual guidance and support. I've personally worked with Spencer Sherman, one of the founders of Abacus, to create a mindfulness program where I taught yoga last fall. Spencer has also even been interviewed on this podcast. So if you want to go back and take a listen, it's episode 32, Mindful Men series, Money and Mindfulness with Spencer Sherman. But even more than just financial advising, Abacus helps you expand what's possible with your money. They support you to align with who you are and what you believe in. And how would you spend your money if you were focused on your joy? They help you see where you would give away money, invest money, and create a vision for your life that are beyond the limits within money. Talking about financial matters can also bring up a lot. Stress, tension, sometimes shame. All the advisors are trained in compassionate listening and mindfulness to create a space of safety for their clients. They support you to align with your values, bring forth your own wisdom, and resolve the reactivity around money. What would it look like for you to articulate a money vision for your life beyond your fears and conditioning? A few times a year, Abacus opens up pro bono financial checkups. I actually just went in to have one of these, and it was so helpful to have an experienced advisor answer my questions and help me take a step in the right direction with my financial resources and decisions. Abacus has offices in Sebastopol, San Mateo, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia. They work with people all over the country, though, both online and in person. So if you're looking for support in investing your money, if you'd like to speak with a financial expert, visit abacuswealth.com to learn more. Another great resource you can use to get started is Spencer's book, The Cure for Money Madness. Now, without further ado, I hope you enjoy today's show. I'm here today with Heather Chauvin, who has been named the next generation's thought leader in parenting and women's leadership. Her mission is to crack women open to their deep potential and help them understand and decode their child's behavior. She is a TEDx speaker and the creator of the Mom is in Control podcast. She's been featured on the OWN Network, Huffington Post, TV outlets, and more. With wit and wisdom, Heather inspires a global community of women to take back control of their lives and evolve how they lead, work, play, and parent. Thanks for being here, Heather.
I'm so excited, Meredith. Thank you.
Yeah, so I just would love to start from how you even came to do this work. And in particular, I listened to your TED Talk, so I learned about your story and how you had cancer at one point and health challenges and trying to find balance and then saying that balance isn't really it. And could you just tell us a little bit about your story? I'd love to hear about it.
Yes. So it's interesting because we live by these rules, right? We live by the rules of who other people believe we should be, and being good people, quote unquote, good people. What do? You follow, you lead, you say, okay, this is what I was been taught. So this is what I'm going to do. And I feel like my story goes back to when I became a mother. That's this whole, everything I talk about is about mom is in control, motherhood. But really that was my awakening. Previously to motherhood, or previous to motherhood, I really had no sense of self. No sense of self. I was lost in the world. I didn't have this sense of purpose. I didn't know what was going to wake me up in the morning. And the second I became a parent, it was like this smack in the face by the universe. And I don't know what it was, but I looked at my son and I thought, I need to show up. This isn't about me anymore, right? I can wallow, I can sleep through anything. I could just drink enough water and eat enough to get by, but this isn't it anymore. And so my son unconsciously taught me and walked me through this path of how to find who I am and what it means to feel alive. Which is a really crazy journey and story, because it started with me saying, I will never become a statistic. So I became a parent when I was 18 years old. And that in itself is a whole nother podcast topic and episode. But I remember looking, going, I just don't want to be a statistic. And I need to become the person that I want him to be. Not living vicariously through my son, not hoping and praying and fingers crossed, but becoming that role model. I knew that that was going to be more powerful than just hoping, right? Hoping that change will come. Hoping, oh, I've screwed up, hoping that he can do it better. I was like, I need to do the dirty work. I need to get my hands dirty. So I went to school, became a social worker, never took a university course in high school. I somehow got through as a mature student, rigged the system, got in. And I remember saying to my mom, oh, Mom, do you know how much you actually learn when you read the textbook? And she was laughing at me. She's like, Heather, yes, when you apply yourself in life, things happen. But I wasn't doing it for myself at that point. I was doing, and my why was him. He was my purpose, right? He was the reason why I woke up. Everything was for him. I remember going to school and having like vomit in my hair because he would like puke right before I go to school. And I'm like, I don't have time to take a shower. And I just smell this gross baby milk the whole time. And so he was my purpose. And so as I continued going through this journey, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to dedicate, not realizing that I'm a healer, a light worker, sensitive soul. And then I give birth to this sensitive soul who doesn't have control over his anger, doesn't have control over his anxiety, has social anxiety. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I have a background in mental health and, a minor in child development. Why can't I figure this out? And then I'm reacting, I'm yelling, I'm screaming, I'm stressed. I'm like, why won't you just stop yelling? Don't throw your toys across the room. What's going on with you? Oh, and deep within, there was this little ache, this little voice that said, meditation. Meditation. And I'm like, what is meditation? Like, why? I barely did yoga at the time. But no, Meredith, not meditation for me. Meditation for my son. Kids meditation. Teach your son to meditate. So I'm like, okay, what is this? So then, and this is full circle, and I'll tell you a crazy story if it goes in that direction after our conversation. I learn and teach how to teach my son mindfulness and meditation because I'm not the problem. He's the problem, right? And then I'm like, oh crap. If I need to meditate, or if I want you to meditate, I need to meditate. Because me projecting my energy onto you is actually the cause and effect, right? And there's both. His behavior was speaking to me. He is his own being. He is his own soul saying, I need help. I need guidance. I need tools and strategies. And I'm over here reacting. So I'm not sitting, observing, paying attention to what is he telling me. I'm just reactive. Don't do this, don't do that. So as I develop this skill, I'm, still in my job, my career, and I literally every day walk in and go, I can't do this for 30 years. My soul is leaving my body. Following the breadcrumbs, I started teaching little workshops to my son's friends. And literally the parents were like knocking on my door. They're like, here, fix my child. I can't handle this. And I'm like, interesting. So I kept following the breadcrumbs, kept doing these little workshops, and then it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm like, these kids don't have tools. They don't have strategies. And the parents, I didn't wake up to this yet, but I'm like, there's something going on with the parents here. They're like, here, I can't, like trying to throw something on my plate. So I was so focused on teaching these skills and strategies to children, right? And they were coming, right? But this is how the world markets. This is why the toy industry is so big. The kids need less, not more. And then fast forward 4 years ago, while I'm building my coaching business, I left social work. I now had to leave all of that and, redesign my business and my practice and my service in alignment with my gifts. I'm hustling, doing what I've been taught by my mentors who I attracted, who none of them had children, by the way. So it was like, go, go, go. There's 24 hours in a day. You just outwork your peeps. You outwork them by working harder. And I'm an ambitious go-getter. That is my nature. So people are looking at me going, how do you do it, Heather? At the time I had 3 boys. Well, I still have 3 boys. The youngest was a year old, and I'm breastfeeding and I'm doing interviews with people and I'm coaching, and, my middle would walk in and they're like, oh, I'm like, this is what it's about. We're all moms. We're here. And I knew something was wrong with my body, but my story at the time was I don't have time for myself. And it was validated by everybody else around me, including my husband, because he was just kind of looking at me like, I don't know what to do with you. You're the mom. You're breastfeeding. You're taking care of the kids. You're running a business. I'm working. Nobody's paying attention because we're all just too chaotic in our brain to understand what's going on. And all the women that I was surrounded with and looking at, busy as a badge of honor. Hey guys, look at me. I didn't take a shower in a week. Aren't you proud of me? And I was like, yes. Like, let's all get together. Well, we can't have coffee or tea together because we don't have time for that. So I'm doing this and my body is telling me, Heather, stop. I don't have time. Went to the doctors. Oh, I don't know what's wrong with you. Their eyes are getting bigger and they're like really worried, but no one's telling me anything. Finally, I surrender because I'm in so much physical pain. My abdomen is swollen to the point where now strangers are asking me when I'm due, asking me how pregnant I am. And I'm like, do I think that's a problem, right? I'm losing weight, abdomen is growing. I go into the emergency room that night, Meredith, they do a CAT scan and blood work and tell me I have cancer. And the creepy part was it was confirmation. My first thought was, I already knew this. My second thought, I'm going to die. My third thought, maybe my father will actually pay attention to me now. And then my reaction was, it's go time. It brought me right back to that moment when I gave birth to my son and I looked at him and I was like, I need to show up. Death is staring me in the face. I need to show up. And I didn't know what that meant, but I knew that if I didn't figure it out, I was going to die. Yeah. I could go on and on and on. And it was a moment that I will never forget. And I wouldn't be where I am today without it.
Wow. Incredible story. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that moment, such potency of just like, I need to show up. Something isn't working. I'm out of alignment. What happened next? What did you decide to do? What did you see was out of alignment in your life?
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, for me, I felt like someone gave me a canvas and every single color of paint and said, make a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea where to start. And I've never painted in my entire life. But they're like, you're not allowed out of this room. You cannot get up from this table until you've created a masterpiece. So of course I felt pressure. And I think I work good under pressure. So that's not a strength by any means. I mean, temporarily, yes. But when you're living in that state of being, I mean, that's your operating system when you come from a background of always living under pressure, never enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
So during this time, I was so grateful. I mean, it was like an awakening for me because while people are surrounding themselves with me, like walking into my hospital room, first I had to surrender to Western medicine.
Yeah.
So I'm in this coaching world where you can cure cancer with your green smoothies, right? And I believe that. And I had so much judgment around Western medicine. And I even talked to people who had cancer and went through the alternative process. And they're like, you have time, Heather. Don't let your oncologist, convince you. Here's the truth about cancer documentaries, all of this stuff. And I really had to trust myself, but I was rapidly deteriorating. And every second, every hour, it was getting worse. It was such a rapid growing cancer that I had, that I finally surrendered. And I remember the night that I surrendered. It wasn't the night that I walked out of the hospital. I remember it was raining and I looked up. This is when I just went to emergency room. It was raining and it was 4 days before Christmas. So how weird is that? Because where I come from, it's supposed to be snowing. So for me, it felt very like metaphorical,
Yeah.
like cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband was walking in front of me and I was like, I stopped and I looked up and I said, you finally have my attention. Finally. He's like, what are you doing? I said, I don't know who I'm talking to or what I'm talking to. I'm still trying to figure that out. All I know is they finally have my attention. And in that moment, I made a decision that I was committed to listening to the ache, listening to the little soul prompts, listening to the books that were falling in my lap, the people that were surrounding me with. And I kept asking myself, how do I want to feel? And the response was alive, strong and alive. How do I want to feel? I want to feel alive. So in that moment, there's this crossroads mentally. You have two paths. You can go down the rabbit hole and go, I'm dying, I'm dying, I'm dying. Or you can choose life. And I had to every day go, even if I have 24 hours left to live, I can choose life today. Even if I won't be here in 6 months, I can choose life. I can choose to feel alive today. So what did that mean? And realizing, I mean, if you don't understand that you are an empath or sensitive, you really realize that when you can sense the energy of somebody walking into your room who's already treating you like you've died. And I would literally say to that person, you have to leave. You have to leave. And they would go, why? I said, because you're treating me like I'm dead. I don't want your energy around me. I'm trying to heal. Because I felt like a super fragile flower. And in that moment, I didn't care because my big why, again, was my children. But it was like, I just wanted to learn to feel alive. And I'm like, go away. I don't care if you're judging me. I don't care if you're mad at me because of what I said. Go away. The foods that I would put into my body, I remember the dietitian at the hospital telling me to eat McDonald's because of the calories. And at this time, I had a few friends who had colitis and started their own vegan cafes and, were talking about all of that. And I was more interested in that phase and I knew right from wrong, but I didn't know how to implement. I was still overwhelmed by the process. So I remember I would smuggle in green smoothies. I would smuggle in green juice. Like my parents would bring it to me. They'd bring me whole foods. And yes, sometimes I had to eat McDonald's because I was just starving and craving French fries. But I tried to get nutrients back into my body. And in that moment, I had to go, thank you so much for being you and being the professional that you are. But my belief systems are not in alignment with the caloric intake. I want quality. I want things that are alive to come into my body. And I had to start reassessing everything, including my business, including my target market, including how I was helping these women and how I was helping these children. And that, again, was the next evolution of one, my leadership, and two, my business. But I had to go, how do I want to feel in all aspects of my life?
Yes. And what a story, because all of us really are dying one day.
Yep.
Often we don't think about it. We kind of forget or put it off. And when we meet someone who is really faced with that reality of, like, you know, even being given a timeline of what people say, what they predict, it becomes so real. And it kind of is this reflection on all of us that this is happening to all of us. We don't know if it's going to be 1 week or 50 years. And we can really take that reflection of, like, am I doing everything in my life? How do I want to feel in my life? What do I want to change? How do I want to give? How do I want to show up for my children? And it sounded like a huge shift happened, and you started really connecting to your source and getting answers from somewhere deeper and making those shifts and changes. So you went through the treatments, right? And came out on the other side. Tell us just a little what happened then.
Yeah. So even when you were talking, I was thinking about how overwhelming that process can be, right? When all of a sudden, I mean, it went from fear. I remember lying in fetal position on the bathroom floor, having moments, and I still have moments of intense fear, but not the fear of death anymore. I have a very I'm excited to die. I think it's like, it's very weird. People are like, you're crazy, Heather. I've come to peace with it. I think it's the next evolution. I'm like, hey, it's a gift. It's the best thing I've ever heard is someone has been, what's that word? I can't think of it. Promoted.
Mm-hmm.
Promoted. Like, yeah, that's awesome. The awesome thing was when I surrendered to Western medicine, I went through chemo, and I had stage 4. It was in my spinal fluid. It was like it was called sporadic Burkitt's. So it was lymphoma, and these little tiny tumors all over my abdomen. And I think there was a big one. So they couldn't do surgery. And they're like, let's cross our fingers and hope and pray that the chemo works. And I remember looking at chemo, being so terrified of it before. And it literally just looks like a banana bag. Like, it's clear fluid going in through an IV. You don't feel it. You feel it, days after going through. And I remember in those moments actually coaching the nurse that was helping me through a parenting struggle that she was having. She's like, Heather, I'm giving you chemo right now and you're helping me. But I could literally feel my body vibrating. Wow. I felt alive. I remember talking to people, coaching through my bed. I had to be like in my hospital bed. I had to be of service. And there was one night, and I know I'm in the process of writing my book, and hopefully the story makes it. And I know you will appreciate this. So this is why I'm sharing this with your community, because I don't tell it a lot publicly. But I remember one night I used to spend around 2 or 3 weeks at a time in the hospital, and then I would go home for a little bit and then come back. And I closed my eyes and I came to peace, and I was in so much pain, so much discomfort. I was vomiting and shitting the bed at the same time. And I was there by myself because my husband was home with the kids. And I said, I'm okay to die. Just take me. Take this pain away. Please take this pain away. And I really meant it. I didn't come from a place of fear. I came from a place of peace. It went beyond fear. And I remember seeing these angels come in and out of the room. It was like and at that time, like, I don't really see things, I feel things. And it was like these people coming in and out and these angels and this light, and I was not by myself. And it was like they were working around the clock, and they're like, oh, she needs a lot of help, guys. Like, everybody come in the room. And it felt like a plucking. Like there was this, I didn't know what they were doing, but they were like taking something out of me and inputting something new. And in the morning I woke up and I was like, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die. Not yet anyways. My time is not yet. And from that moment on, the fear may have still lingered, but my certainty was I'm not going to die. So I just made a commitment to continuing to doing the work. And you were talking about, we all know we're going to die. And when people have these moments, making a commitment to live, that can be overwhelming because then you have this abundance of life, this abundance of gratitude. And you're like, how do I do this? So now, for a mindset shift for those people listening, I get so excited about life. I get so excited about my work. I get so excited about possibilities, desires. And the awesome thing is as soon as I achieve a goal or, I'm going after a desire in my life, my business, connection with the kids, there's more. There's more desire. There's more of it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much life left in me to give. And live. So the magic of that is the evolution. And I just started where I was at. At the beginning, I was like, I want a bath. I want a meal. I want to read a book. And now it's like, I want to travel the world. I want to run a marathon. I want to, create space in my calendar so that every single night I can read the kids a book before they go to bed, or we can have family dinners together or whatever that is. But it's interesting because, the goals that I had before, now it's all about the simple stuff. It's really getting to the nitty gritty and going, it's the feeling you're after. It's not the goal.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm just loving everything you're sharing. And I know that so much of your business now is around support. You said even in that moment in the hospital, it was like that being of service. There you were helping someone who had parenting troubles with their child. And that is now a lot of your work of supporting moms of like how to be with their children, and particularly in those moments of out of control emotions or tantrums or all of that. So as you came back to your work, as you really felt your life force coming back, and you had this amount of aliveness in you that you were after and feeling and giving, how did you begin helping others, and how do you help others today?
Yes. I just started sharing my own story. Mm-hmm. I think that was really powerful because too often we get stuck in the how of like, how did I do that? What specific steps or strategies did I take? And I just spoke my truth. And I didn't know this at the time, but I was sharing my story, and, I did have a little bit of an online brand before this happened. So there were some people that were already following me. And I remember one of the nurses came up to me and she's like, I follow you online. I'm like, oh God, this is awkward. I'm bald. I'm practically naked. I'm going to shit my pants pretty soon. And here you are telling me that you follow me. Like, what a vulnerable state to be in, right? After I got better and I started coaching again, she actually hired me. And I thought, wow, that was easy. Mm-hmm. What did I do? What did I do to attract her? And the answer is I was myself. Mm-hmm. I was myself, and my vibration attracted what she needed. So, a little few degrees off and she would have been like, it doesn't feel like a good fit. But for whatever reason, what I was putting out there, she was attracted to it. She felt like she needed it, and she did it. And she said to me, if you can go through all of that and still have a smile on your face and still be present and still move on with your life, I want some of that. I want to know what you're doing. And this is the interesting part, because as a leader, it's about becoming who you want to become, right? Becoming that version, becoming that person you want your children to be. And I just had to keep doing the work. I had to keep asking myself, what do I want? How do I want to feel? How am I going to get myself to the next level to do that? Because people don't care. I can hire a really good copywriter and have an email sequence. But if I do a Facebook Live or if I'm doing a podcast, you can sniff that crap from a mile away. You can tell when somebody is faking it, right? It's not authentic. And so I had to be authentic. And I would say that was being authentic and vulnerable has come pretty easy to me, because that was a coping strategy that I had for many years, where I would ask people, is anyone else suffering with anxiety and depression, or is it just me? It was one of those, I'm like, hello, do you ever struggle? Is it just me who is going to lose their mind because I'm not getting enough sleep at night because I have a newborn baby? How come nobody else is talking about it? And then so I just started talking about the things that people weren't willing to talk about. And because I was talking about that, people were attracted to it, because they're like, me too, I'm struggling. And I was like, well, I might be able to help you. And so I just started helping women and going, okay, I was there a year ago. Let's go. This is what I did. Let's make it happen.
Yes. Yes. And in particular with children now, and you supporting people as parents, what are some of the resources for example, if a child is having really intense emotions, what are some of the suggestions that you give in those times?
Yeah, so I give very different suggestions today what I would have given 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it was all about the tool, mindfulness. Teach your child meditation. Teach your child how to focus on their breath. And the results were, my child won't meditate. He's wiggling, he's moving, he won't listen to me. And I'm like, well, let's just tailor it to his needs. Now what I tell the parent, man, woman, whoever, caregiver, what is this child triggering within you? So I can stand in a room with my son. I have 3 boys. I can stand in a room with all 3 of them. Some days, my middle son triggers something within me, and the oldest will trigger something else. Other days, I'm not being triggered. So how can I hold space for a child? How can I really know what they're struggling with if I am incapable of holding that space for a child? So there's 2 things. When I'm working with people, I will not just isolate and work with the child. That's just their pain point when they come to me. It's like parenting is a big struggle. It's either I don't want to be in the presence of my children. I lose my mind. I don't know how to quote unquote balance, and I don't believe in that word, but I don't know how to be present with my work when they're in my environment. Or I don't know how to help them with their big emotions. And so I say, your child is their own being. They're struggling. They're having a human moment. So their behavior is a language. But if we as adults don't have our crap together, our garbage bag isn't dumped out, we don't have the clarity, consciousness, or awareness, we're not going to be able to have this co-creation. It's a relationship. So how can we teach a child a tool or a strategy when they don't respect us because we don't respect ourselves? How can we teach a child to listen when we aren't listening to the child, or when we are not listening to ourselves? So to give you a specific example of that, my child won't listen to me. Great. Are you actually listening to the child? What is the child saying to you? You have to be a little conscious, a little aware to understand that, to decode that behavior. So then I'll go, well, are you listening to yourself? Well, what do you mean, am I listening to myself? Well, it goes back to the beginning of the conversation that we had about me listening to my body when my body was saying, Heather, slow down. Heather, feed yourself. Eat a freaking meal. Have a piece of broccoli. Take a glass of water. Have a bath. Do something. So once I start filling up the mother, meaning the symptom, right? You sniffly nose, there's a deeper rooted problem. The symptom is the child is, you're saying, not the child is saying, you're saying, so you're projecting onto the child. Child isn't listening to me. Great. Are you listening to the child? No, because I got lots of crap that is in front of this. Great. Are you listening to yourself? What does that mean? What do you want? What are you craving? What do you desire? Listen, listen, listen. Write it out. Take baby steps. I want a shower. I need a coffee date with a friend. I need a haircut. maybe I'll get my mustache waxed. I don't know. I've depleted myself so much that I don't even know what I want anymore. Start with the basics. And once it's like sips of water, right? You found somebody in a forest, they've been out there for a week and they're like almost dead. That's what a lot of motherhood is like for people who buy into the old paradigm that you need to neglect yourself or you're selfish. So little sips. I need one thing. I need two things. Great. Now you can drink the whole glass of water. Now you can have a gallon of water. Now you can swim in the ocean. And once you start doing that, then, okay, is your child not listening to you? And 9 out of 10 times, the woman says to me, it's no longer an issue. Because I'm listening to the child, because I'm not being triggered, and therefore the relationship has improved. And it's energy. It's energy.
Children are so empathic. Like without even realizing what they're doing, they can feel when something is off in that energy space. And so they're, that the calling out, similar the way that this cancer was calling out to you and your body, pay attention to me. Kids can do that too. And it's like they're giving the mirror of something that we need to see in ourselves.
I always say to my clients, I was talking to one of them yesterday and her daughter's name is Alice. And I said, oh, me and Alice have been working together for a really long time. And she starts laughing. She goes, what do you mean? I said, oh, I sent her some vibes and her and I have been orchestrating to get you here. And she laughed hysterically. I said, your daughter has challenged you to your core to bring you to me. And when you see that we're co-creating together, it's so beautiful. So I always tell people, I need you to get out of your own way so that I can get to your child. Because too often I see parents going from appointment to appointment, workshop, book, all of these things, doing one therapy session at a time with their children going, I'm not getting anywhere. Oh, I guess this is just the way that life is. And I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in this and we're not seeing results. Well, that is what it is. It's just a phase. That's what the, doctor told me. And I'm like, great. That's awesome. If it's not working, that's the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So you jump outside of the box and I say, let's make this easy. Consciousness. Understand. Look at your child. Why are we projecting our own insecurities onto them? Are we projecting our own fears? Are we projecting the fact that we don't feel good enough? Are we projecting the fact that we feel very uncomfortable with anger because we had an angry father or an angry mother? Or when we were a child, we were told, never express your anger. It is a weakness. So that when our child expresses anger, we're like, oh, red flag, fight or flight. So there's so much that our children teach us. And I always say they pick us. They pick us in this lifetime to say, you got some lessons and I'm going to help you get there.
Yes. Yeah. I've heard that if we have not gone into some of our own childhood traumas and gone into our own healing, that children can really just be a trigger for that, of just like pointing right in that spot where you don't want to look.
It's personal growth on steroids. That's what I call it. So when people are like, oh, I got, everything is all my ducks are in a row and it's perfect. And I'm like, yep, just wait till the child comes into your world.
Yeah. Yeah. Talking about surrender, just to allow that.
For sure.
So what tips do you have around running a business, like being a mom, having a business, just being in a good way with your children, with your business and relationship with all of that? Because I know there are a lot of people out there who struggle and know that feel like it can be too much.
Yeah. I have lots of tips, lots of strategies. But at the core of it, when you said that, I just want to say that struggle isn't glamorous. It's not a badge of honor. It's a belief system. And if you believe that something needs to be really, really hard, then it will be. And I feel like the more I get into this, spreading this message, I feel like a lone wolf. And I say wolf for a reason, because I get triggered on a daily basis, even by a Facebook comment or people around me, like passionately triggered that I can't do both really well. Mm-hmm. I can't run a business and I can't be a successful mom, quote unquote, feel good in motherhood, like I'm guiding my children appropriately. And we need support. Everything that you resist, you need to run towards. You know, it took me, I prided myself on being this independent woman for a really long time. There's a reason why they say it takes a village. And I would not be able to do what I do without help. And I had to get clear on what type of mother do I want to be? What feels good to me? So a lot of women, they want to, who knows, they might want to be involved in like driving your child to every single thing that they do. Other women are like, that's not the time that I want to have my kids. I just want to be able to put them to bed at night. We want to have really long family vacations. It's like, what is the lifestyle that feels good to your soul? You don't need to look like Susie next door. Who do you want to be in your motherhood? Sometimes you're like, I just want to work and I don't want to have children. Like, I don't want to be with my kids. Honestly, if that feels really good in your soul, maybe your purpose was just to birth them in the world, or take care of them, like adopt them or whatever. That's okay, right? Like that is okay. We need to really honor what our soul is craving, and not look at Mary Poppins and go, I'm not everything. So for me, I'm all about experiences. Like of course, I'm the emotional person. Like, let's talk about that. How does that feel? I love creating those experiences. I am ambitious. I love making money. I love being able to give back in the family that way. And that's just how I want to contribute. When, having a baby on me, sucking on my boob all day, that was really, really hard for me. So what did I do? During those times, I didn't need to isolate myself. I had to ask, what do I need right now? I need community. I need people. I need to physically leave the house and go to yoga for an hour and maybe give my child a bottle of formula. How dare me? But if I come back and I can be present with my child, and not resent them because I feel like I'm trapped, then that's okay. So I tell people, you really need to honor what you need as a woman beyond motherhood. Mm-hmm. In business, you need to hire a really, really good mentor that is in alignment with your values. And we can create sustainable businesses that do not burn us out. Now, I want to, a lot of us were the dreamers. We have these big visions of like, I can see myself doing this and da-da-da-da. Great. What is in front of you that you need to take action on? And we can create sustainable, cash flowing businesses ASAP. It doesn't need to take 5 years to do that. So I show women, what's your high leverage action? What's your revenue generating activities? Does this work? Does this feel in alignment? And a lot of that is looking at our belief systems, looking at the systems and strategies that we have in place. But more importantly, you have to ask your soul, what am I craving? What do I desire? And what am I not giving myself permission to do?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And how has it been for you, just being seen and putting yourself out there and giving that TED Talk and doing the interviews? What has that been like for you? Because I know you say going towards at those places that have resistance. What was the resistance like for you?
Painful. Physically. I manifest everything physically. So all of my resistance, like I'll just have no energy. I'll get bone pain. I will get, and then if I go to the doctor or something like, oh, these are side effects from this, or maybe it's this, maybe it's that. But my gut tells me this is just resistance. So I lean into it. The TED Talk was really interesting because of the parameters and the guidelines and what they required of me. And, I wanted to get it perfect. So it's always leading up to the moment that's most terrifying, vomit. Oh my gosh. My husband videotaped me multiple times, like freaking out for no reason. He's like, Heather, why don't you believe in yourself? Why do you just need to, why do I need to reassure you all the time? And I'm like, it's because I'm getting closer, right? I'm getting closer to the desire. I'm getting closer to the breakthrough. And then in the moment, I'm there. I just surrender. I'm like, I've prepared as much as I can for this moment. Now just be in the moment. What is this? What do I need to say? Where do I need to be guided? And that has really helped me along the journey, even in my business. I talk a lot about codependency in my work. So when a woman comes into working with me, sometimes she's struggling with power or trust, right? Trusting herself and her power and really owning that. And it's reflecting and popping up in her maybe marriage or with her children as well, and her work. And so a lot of it is owning that, trusting yourself, trusting your gut. But I don't know. I'm one of those people. I mean, once you're an entrepreneur for a little while, it's a mindset shift coming from either stay-at-home mom to entrepreneur or employee to entrepreneur. And now I love the game. I love the challenge. So when I'm kind of content and things are going good for me, I'm like, what's next? Where's the next TED Talk that I can apply for? Or, okay, let's write the book now. And then yesterday I'm a huge fan of mentorship too, that I can't figure this out myself. So I'm constantly going, who can teach me and guide me to get to the next evolution of who I want to be? And so I was talking to somebody about that, and I was saying to my husband, like, oh my God, I'm so scared. Oh, he's like, Heather, why do you do this to yourself? You're going to be fine. You're going to figure it out. And so I was like, yes, let's make it happen. And of course, I'm already, evolving and growing. So it's inevitable. I cause my own, I wouldn't say suffering, temporary discomfort.
Yes, because that's where the growth happens.
Yeah.
Those places of discomfort.
Yeah.
I love that it's this constant evolution, and we can always look towards new people of like, okay, I've come into the place where I've been dreaming to be for so long. So for me, for example, I did come out with a book last year, and that was my dream for 6 years. And it was like, to have it happen it was very almost strange in a way, because it was like the dream is finally here. Like, what am I looking forward to now? And it's almost like this identity crisis for a little bit of like, I've been looking forward to this for so long, and then being like, okay, so what's next? But seeing that like we can always be evolving. We can always look towards those people we feel attracted to and want to learn from, and have a new evolution of what's next. It's really beautiful. I want to hear just what is coming up in your business. Anything you want to share with everyone?
Well, right now I am working on the book, which is interesting because I felt like it was a marathon that I was literally walking at for many, many years. You know what that's like. You're like, it's in me. How is this going to come out? So I'm getting closer. I feel like there's a mile left, and then there's 10 miles that show up when that mile is left. So the book is coming. I'm podcasting. I love it. I have 2 programs that are simultaneously launching, which is Teach Your Kid to Meditate, which is kind of about intro to conscious parenting and mindfulness, but also I'm very action and strategy oriented. So it's about action. Let's implement, let's do, let's be, let's interact, let's talk about this. And then I have my Mom is in Control program, which is my 8-month mastermind for women. So we talk about the parenting and the life piece. So wherever you're at, we kind of go from there. But creativity, just pulling back the layers.
Beautiful. And just where can everyone find you? And I'll include links, but anything else you want to share with the people?
Yeah. They can find me online at Heather Chauvin, last name spelled CHAUVIN.com, or the podcast, which is everywhere podcasts are, which is called Mom is in Control.
Awesome. And do you have any closing words for the people listening before I just bring this to a close with a short prayer?
I just want to say to the woman listening who has lost hope, or thinks, is it possible, to be curious with that thought, and know that it's just a thought and it's just a feeling, and you can change it, and change is possible. So watching the breadcrumbs, watching the baby steps, and just asking yourself, is there a reason why this podcast, this conversation ended up in my lap today? And just follow the breadcrumbs. You can do this. You can do anything, but you have to take the action and just believe in that 1% of your ounce, that 1 ounce of like belief inside of you. Just listen to that, and everything else, let it go.
Yes. So let's just take a moment to breathe that in. Noticing the beliefs we've been holding about ourselves, what we are capable of, and just kind of washing that clean, allowing there to be more space in our potential, in our ability, and taking steps forward. Just tuning into what we feel inspired about from this conversation today, whatever gems we want to take with us in our heart as we go out into the world. Just breathe that all in. And I'll bring my hands to my heart just with such gratitude for Heather and for all of you listening, showing up, doing your work. We bow. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to our show today. We would love to hear what you think. Take a moment to hop on over to iTunes and leave us a review. We'd be so grateful to receive it. Until next time, namaste.